I never give anything 100%. And the reason for that is that giving something 100% is, according to me, a giant waste of time and energy. What I instead try to do is I try to find the 20% that really matters, and I try to do them really well, because then I can do 5 times as many things. This is usually referred to as the 80-20 principle, or the rule of Pareto. And it's pretty much everywhere you look. You can, for example, find it in your everyday life. And if you look in your wardrobe, you're likely to see that, okay, these 20% of the clothes I use a lot, these 80% I pretty much never use. Probably the first 20% account for 80% of the time you use clothes. Same goes for your video games. There are likely to be 20% of your games that you play 80% of the time. If you have a look at your friendship instead, then it's likely to be the case that there are 20% of your friends that you really care about, that really means something, that really gives you the 80% of the love and affection that you need. Or if you're studying, it's probably the case that when you study, it's a short period of time when you're really productive, when you really do things and you're really working hard, and that will account for 80% of the things you get out of it. So this is pretty much everywhere. And the tricky thing is to identify the 20% that matters and just get those done. For me, for example, I apply this a lot. I apply this in this video. I'm trying to see what are the 20 most important percent. And for me, that is the script. I'm writing what I'm supposed to say. So I spend about 2 hours doing that. And then I could probably have spent 2 hours more making sure it's really, really perfect. And I could spend another 2 hours finding the perfect light or scenery, and 2 hours of cutting this and making sure it looks bulletproof, and another 2 hours just taking new cuts until I'm really, really happy. But instead I skip all the other things and I just focus on the first thing, and I get it done, and I have a lot of more time on my hands to do other things. This principle is usually used in the business industry. You can hear people talk about 20% of the clients account for 80% of the profits. Or things like 20% of the employees, they generate 80% of the stuff that's being done. It could be the other way around as well, that 20% of the clients actually do 80% of the complaints. So it's just how these things play together that's important. So the question then is, how can you apply this in your everyday world? Well, if you start by looking in your wardrobe and the things you own, start by figuring out which 20% actually means something to me, and sell or give away or throw away the rest of the things. You will end up with more money in your hand and more space around you and less problems to think about. Same thing goes with your friends. If you actually think about which are the friends that really matter to me, this is probably a good thought to have either way. But think that thought, and then you realize, okay, so these are the friends that really matter. Let's give them the most of your attention and the most of your time and the most of your love, because that's when you will have the most back. Don't care so much about the other 80% that doesn't bring you any value anyway. Or if you're studying, make sure to really focus while you're studying. Because if you sit there and you play around with Instagram or Candy Crush or whatever, you will not get pretty much anything done. It's much better just shut that off and focus, because in 20% of the time you will get 80% done compared to if you spend a lot more time doing it without the focus. For me, the first clip I posted on YouTube was about a week ago, and I was really nervous about that. And I didn't know what people would think. I didn't put so much time and energy into it, and I was afraid that people would say I was a pathetic loser, that what I said didn't matter to anyone, or pretty much any bad thing you can imagine. But I got so spoiled with love, and I was so happy about that. And the only downside with that is that now I'm actually even more nervous posting this one. Because honestly, I don't think this one is as good as the first one. I don't think this topic will move as many people. But I do believe that this is 80% as good as it could be. And since I'm trying to do what I'm preaching, I'll be happy with 80%, and I'm gonna post this. So if you feel that this has given you any value, please put a thumb in any direction, please write a comment, please press subscribe or share this video with anyone you think see fits. But do something, And if you want to apply the 80-20 rule, the fastest one is probably to do the thumbs, because I will be 80% as happy of that as I would be of the comment. Thank you for listening.